Call the school board meeting into session. And board members, as you know, the first item on our agenda is to approve the agenda, so I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move we approve.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Dr. Kelly. Seeing no discussion, all in favor, please vote. Motion carries 5-0. Now we move down to the recognitions. That's section 3 on your agenda, and we have several of those tonight, and then we also have some administrative appointments. And so what I'll do, and this is typically the course that we follow, is following the recognitions, I'll give a brief recess for the folks that are here for recognitions to leave the building if they wish to. All right, so we're at 3.1, the recognition of Choctawhatchee High School Indianette Dance Team State Champions in the Small Varsity Hip Hop and Small Varsity Pom divisions at the Florida Dance Championships presented by Superintendent Marcus Chambers. Mr. Chambers, your stage, sir.
And Dr. White, if you would join me. Okay. All right, good evening. So I would say I'm excited, very excited to come before you tonight to recognize the Choctaw Indianettes dance team, state champions, and I have to say I had the pleasure to watch this group perform at a halftime event, and if you have ever seen some moves, and we're talking on your back and then jumping back up all in sync, and then the way that you all did splits and all that, I think I would have broken many things, but could not have been prouder to see it. So it's no doubt that they are national champions. So very excited. And Dr. White, we're gonna recognize these young ladies and this young man. And first of all, I would like Coach Dee Dee Shank to come forward. You would do us a favor if you would call up each of the young ladies and the young man, and
sure.
We'll recognize them.
Okay.
Let me assist a little bit.
Okay. All right. Carlton Carter. Sophia Dong.
Carlton.
Peyton Gowing. Kristen Hudson. Gabriella Lego Mitchell. Valerie Nusimo. Kaylee Simmons. And Vita Star Hollis.
Good job.
Congratulations. Good job.
All right.
I'm going to slide in this way just a little bit so we can get everybody in. We'll give her a shot. We might need to make 2 rows, so those of you, yeah, y'all come on up, make 2 rows, fill in there.
Thank you.
And by the way, if you haven't
Slide in
seen
a little
these
bit tighter.
athletes dance, they can see it on ESPNU on Friday at 3.
Yeah.
Dr. Hill, you want to say something really quickly?
I would just like to say how proud I am of this group of athletes, and anybody that thinks dancers are not athletes, you're just dead wrong. This is the best conditioned team at Choctaw, and they bring such such a sense of pride to everything that they do. We're so proud of them, and as I was telling Mr. Chambers as I walked up, if you haven't had an opportunity to see them, you can set your DVRs for 3 o'clock on Friday because they'll be on ESPNU. They're very good, and we're very proud of them. So.
This is just a plaque that signifies the championship, and so this goes to the coach and to the team. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, the next item on the agenda is 3.2, recognition of Ruckle Middle School Majorette Team 2019 Twirlmania International Champions in the Junior High Halftime Division, presented by Superintendent Marcus Chambers. Mr. Chambers.
Thank you, sir. And Dr. Kelly, if you would join me up here. I do want to just reiterate, so the Ruckle Majorettes, the 2019 Twirlmania International Champions, and the only thing I could just say this very quickly is my daughter did a brief stint in twirl, and I remember picking up the twirl thinking that I was doing a good thing, and it kind of hit me. So that didn't go very well, but just to know that the level of talent and the time and the energy that you ladies put into this, I think it's absolutely fantastic. And when all of that time and energy turns into something like a championship, I know that that's something that not only you're proud of, your parents are proud, and I know that Mr. Wooden, your principal, is very proud. So congratulations. All right. And Mr. Wooden, if you come forward and join us as well. And Coach Saltzman, if you would come up as well. First of all, congratulations, Coach.
Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Yes, ma'am. Would you mind calling out names?
Addison Bagnall. One of our young ladies isn't here tonight, Taylor Bryan. Allie Cathell. Jordan Harper. Cece Jordan. Kylie Saltzman. Avi Indesincere, Faith Faber. And Nikki Williams. Thank you so much.
And one other quick piece here is, and this is your plaque that just memorializes your championship. So this is something that you'll have. So, Coach, and to the ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. I always introduce these girls when we have our world famous pep rallies at Ruckle as the best majorettes in the land. And now for sure I can say internationally at a state event, they are truly the best internationally as well. So thank you, Coach Saltzman, for your hard work. Thank you, girls, for your hard work. We're so proud of you. And as I discussed with one of your parents back there, just like Mr. Hale said, y'all are true athletes with what y'all do and how hard you work and perform. So thank you, girls, and appreciate all you do for Ruckle.
Thank you so much.
Everybody slide in.
Slide. Not gonna bite.
You probably do that way just a little bit. Keep going. There you go. Perfect. Perfect. And then front row, there you go. Perfect. Okay, everybody ready? Smiling.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations,
Thank
ladies.
you.
All right, and that takes us to item 3.3, and that is recognition of the community partnership with the Air Force Research Laboratory, Mr. Brian Mitch Mitchell, STEM Education Outreach Coordinator, presented by Superintendent Marcus Chambers. Superintendent?
Thank you, sir. And is Mitch Mitchell here? Where are you, sir? We will do this in honor of Mr. Mitchell. So I would like to say, school board members, as you know, we have a lot of community partners in our school district, and it's what helps make us grow. It's what helps us develop. It's what helps our students first and foremost. So Mr. Mitch Mitchell, he is with the Air Force Research Laboratory, and he is integral in our science fair program, helping us raise funds. But he's also integral in the grants that we get in terms of STEM competitions, professional development for our teachers, field studies in STEM, and then the STEM curriculum. He also is very integral in where he helps identify students to apply for the Legacy STEM camps, as well as the apprenticeship programs. And the interesting piece is we have students who will start in middle school with these programs, go to high school, they then go to college, and then during the summertime, they'll work for on Eglin, and then have the ability to then transition into an actual job as well. So it's neat when you see something that can start in middle school and go all the way up through their actual career. So something to be very excited about, and we very much appreciate his partnership. So thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Superintendent. Okay, so the next section on the agenda will be visitors, and we'll go ahead and move on to, we have no visitors tonight, then we have public comment. That is item 5.1, and Superintendent, we do have a public comment here. So let me read the blue card information. Ms. Christy Moore, I think you're here. Hi, Ms. Moore, please come forward. Ms. Moore, on your card, you've indicated you live on Yacht Club Drive in Niceville, and you're here to speak about, I guess, an appointed superintendent?
That's correct.
Is that correct? And before we start, let me turn it over to the attorney who will give the directions that we have for all folks that visit and speak to us. Okay?
Good evening.
Mr.
You
McInnes?
have 4 minutes to make your presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so whenever you're ready, he's got the timer running.
Okay. Well, as you are all aware, I emailed you about just over a month ago discussing or requesting discussion, and I understand I have to actually make a public comment so we can have public discussion over the district considering having moving towards an appointed superintendent. We currently elect a superintendent, which means when Okaloosa County is in the news, we don't necessarily have recourse to do anything about it unless the governor steps in. And then we're at the mercy of the governor to step in if the situation dictates, and we're not guaranteed. And with all the controversy that's going on and the fact that we have a superintendent in place who's doing a tremendous job, but based on the technicality with the Supreme Court, could get removed and we could go back to the old superintendent. Well, none of this makes sense. It certainly doesn't make sense for the students in Okaloosa County. And if you look at the statistics, Florida and Alabama are basically the only 2 states left in the nation, 80 some odd school districts, that have elected superintendents. If Mr. Chambers stays, he's still going to have to at some point shift his focus to, I have to get on the ballot, I have to seek support, I have to go through this process that it will take away from his primary focus of leading the school district. So I think it's time we discussed moving towards an appointed superintendent. Escambia County just went to an appointed superintendent. I believe it takes place in 2020. The entire state of Mississippi to our west has moved to appointing their superintendents. That was one of the last holdouts. That means we can actually do a search. If we're happy with Mr. Chambers, he can stay. When Mr. Chambers decides to move on, we're not at the whim of who raises the most money to get on the ballot, who's got the most friends. It's going to be decided in a primary where nobody may vote anyway. We can do a search. I know Niceville is here. Niceville just did a search for a head football coach, and they had finalists from 4 states. And that's for the high school for one team. This position is looking over the well-being of 27,000 plus students, as well as, you know, faculty and staff. So my request is that we open a discussion about maybe moving towards appointing a superintendent, and what would that take to put it on the ballot, so we can have, so we can avoid this mess that's plagued us, so we can have the best candidate in place. And when we have the best candidate in place, we can keep the best candidate. It can be contract-based. You perform, you stay. You don't perform, we lose confidence in you, then maybe we have a mutual parting of the ways.
Okay, well, that's, I appreciate your presentation, Ms. Moore, and also your email.
Oh, thank you.
Just like your presentation, it was well-written and your presentation was well-given. It is true that the board could discuss this item should they choose, and so, colleagues, I'll turn it over to you in the event that you have any comment.
Chairman,
Yes, sir, Mr. Dustin.
I know this was on the ballot quite a long time ago. Mr. McGinnis, do you remember, what was it, 20 years or more?
It was a long time ago, yes, sir.
And did not pass. And so, while I agree with almost all the points you made, it may be a difficult politically issue to get through. I'm always ready to talk about the discussion or to discuss it because it is an issue that seems pretty antiquated the way we're doing it. So, sometime in the future, hopefully, we'll be able to examine the issue.
Other board members, Ms.
Yes,
Vanchuk?
I appreciate your frustration, what you're saying. I do, and I follow that. But again, what Mr. Dustin is saying is that while people may be frustrated, they don't seem willing to want to give up their vote. And I know what you're saying, that a lot of the districts, I can't remember, do you know how many are left in Florida? Did you research that?
I believe there was 40 districts
that still
that still elect.
Yeah, and so yeah, I can understand your frustration. So, but I don't know that our board is the one that makes that call to get it on the ballot. I'd have to check out how we do that or how that happens even. But as a citizen, that might be something that, if that's your stand, that you work with, you know, the supervisory elections and talk about that. I don't know, but I just wanted to acknowledge your frustration, and I understand it has been a frustrating time, and that could possibly be a solution.
I think the citizens have to understand that we elect you. That's our voice, and then we trust you to do what's best. And if it came down to an appointed superintendent, that's where we elect you. We trust you to do a search and hire the best possible candidate.
Correct.
Or
yes.
in this case, what worries me is, again, based on a technicality, we could certainly go, well, we could be embroiled in all types of turmoil that it just can't serve to benefit our students or the faculty or staff of the school district. And I thought it had to be the school board that requested it be put on the ballot. And I understand that it might even take 1 or 2 ballots until people realize, hey, this is what we need to do.
Well, Ms. Moore, I think, I'll say, I think that you might be right. It might require a motion and approval by the school board to move that forward. And so if I could follow up on Mrs. Vanchuk's comment, I would ask the attorney to take a look at that and just inform the board members as to what would be required for that to even occur or be possible to occur. Okay?
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, thank you, Ms. Moore.
Just appreciate your comments.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so that takes us through the public comment section, and so at this point, I'm going to make a 2-minute recess for any folks that may still be here from the earlier recognitions. All right, we'll take a brief recess for 2 minutes. 6.1, and that will be the appointment to the position of Route Coordinator, Transportation South, recommended by Superintendent Chambers for approval. Mr. Chambers.
Thank you, Board. So Mr. Walton, Mr. Patrick Walton, has lived in Okaloosa County since he was 3 years old, attending many of the local schools and graduating from Choctawhatchee High School. He began working at Captain D's while in high school, and within the next 10 years, worked his way into management, eventually becoming the area supervisor over 3 restaurants. Mr. Walton left that job to drive an 18-wheeler over the road before taking a sales position. These diverse jobs prepared him for the challenge of setting up the transportation services to meet the needs of Liza Jackson Preparatory School in 2001 as the school was preparing to open. Mr. Walton's responsibilities included purchasing buses, establishing routes, hiring and training drivers, and overseeing the maintenance of the vehicles. In his 16-year career at Liza Jackson, he was also contracted out to manage the transportation needs at the Okaloosa Academy campuses in both the north and south ends of the county. Mr. Walton is happily married to Margaret Walton, who is also from the area and currently teaches at Emerald Coast Middle School in Walton County. They have 3 children, 3 grandchildren, and 3 cats.
All right,
Mr.
board
Walton.
members, so I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bryant,
I'll second that.
second by Mr. Destin. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Is he here, Mr. Chambers? Would you
Believe
call
so.
him?
Mr. Walton, if you and your family would come forward.
Okay.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I just want to take a minute to thank Superintendent Chambers, Mr. McGinnis, and the board for giving me this opportunity to work with the school district. I'm looking forward to working with everybody in transportation to continue to provide safe transportation for the students of Okaloosa County.
Very
good.
Awesome.
Good deal.
Okay.
Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Walton.
Thank you. Thank you.
Tough job.
Thank you.
All right, so now moving on to item 6.2. This will be the appointment of the athletic director for Niceville High School, recommended by Superintendent Chambers. Mr. Chambers?
And Mr. Morello, if you'd come up as I read this bio. So it is with great pride that I'm before you, and actually I'm going to pause for a second, and Dr. Kelly, if you would come up as well, I'd appreciate it. So it is with great pride that I come before you, and we have Coach Grant Thompson, who is a former offensive lineman and a 2001 graduate of Niceville High School, and he also attended Ruckle Middle School. So this is a product of our school system coming home. Coach Thompson served as the offensive coordinator at Niceville High School from 2008 to 2014. That 6-year stretch included 5 district championships, 3 Final Four appearances, and 2 state runner-up campaigns. In 2015, he left for Graceville High School to become their head football coach and athletic director. In his 2 years at Graceville, Coach Thompson led the Tigers back-to-back regional final appearances. In 2018, he left for Lincoln High School in Tallahassee to become their offensive coordinator. Now, with board approval, Coach Thompson is coming home to his school, to his dream job, Niceville High School.
All right. All right, so we got to vote first.
Yes, sir.
All right. So I'm looking for a motion.
You can vote from there.
Motion by Dr. Kelly. Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Vanchek. Any discussion? Don't see any. Let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Now's the time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
So I'd like to say really quickly about Coach Thompson before he addresses the group. We had an 11-person hiring committee. We had over 70 applicants, and it was a lot of work. And we interviewed 7 of those people, and they were quality coaches, quality character people, and they gave great interviews. So it kind of was on my shoulders then after that, and I still had a couple questions. I wanted to talk to a couple more guys on that list who we interviewed, and one was certainly Coach Thompson. I called with basically 2 questions in mind, and after I asked him the first question, he answered it so well, I said, that's it. And so it was 8:15 in the morning, and our football period is about 10:30, 5th period. And I said, Coach Thompson, if I told you to put all your stuff in your truck and get here for 5th period football class, what would you do? And he said, sir, I'll be on the interstate in 5 minutes. I said, you're our guy. So from one eagle to another eagle, we all bleed maroon, and that's why I appreciate Coach Thompson. He's going to do a fantastic job for us. We're glad to have him.
You know, I'm a product of Okaloosa County Schools, and a lot of the man I am today is because of that. So I can't thank you enough for the confidence that you have in me to do this job, and I can't tell you, it's my dream job and it's an extreme honor. Everybody that came, it means the world to me, my coaches and staff, thank you guys so much. Go Eagles.
All right, thanks, Coach. Congratulations.
And Coach Thompson's parents are coming up as well.
Oh, sure. Great. Awesome.
Can we all slide this way just a tad? You go. One, two.
All right, Mr. Chambers, we'll go ahead now and move to 6.3. This will be the appointment of Destin Elementary School Assistant Principal, recommended by Superintendent Chambers for approval.
Thank you,
Go
sir.
ahead with the bio.
John Williams is a product and a proud product of Okaloosa County Schools, having attended Kenwood Elementary, Pryor Middle School, and graduating from Fort Walton Beach High School. Education runs in the family, as he is the son of 2 retired Okaloosa County teachers, Chip and Kathy Williams, and his wife Amanda has also taught for over 10 years. He began his career in our county as a classroom reading recovery assistant and lunchroom monitor at Kenwood. After completing his master's degree, he became a school counselor at Pryor, was the dean of students at Pryor, and then the assistant principal at Pryor. He served as principal of Shalimar Elementary for 3 years and is currently in his 4th year as the principal of Silver Sand School. Mr. Williams holds a state of Florida certificate in guidance, exceptional student education, and educational leadership. He earned his bachelor's degree in psychology from UWF, a master's in curriculum and instruction at UWF, and a specialist in educational leadership and policy at FSU. He lives in Mary Esther with his wife of 13 years, Amanda, and their 2 children, Ben and Allie.
Very good. Looking for a motion, board members.
Chairman, I'll move we approve Mr. Williams.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
I'll second.
I think I'll defer to Ms. Kelly. Dr. Kelly. Second by Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing and seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Yes, sir.
Thanks so much for the opportunity. I'm very much looking forward to working with the students, families, and the staff, especially at Destin Elementary School. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mr. Williams. Congratulations. Sure. That's your thing to do. All right, so moving on now to item 6.4, appointment of Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction recommended by Superintendent Chambers for approval. Mr. Chambers.
Yes, sir. So once again, it's with pride that I bring before you Ms. Sheila Lightbourne. Sheila Lightbourne has been a resident of Shalimar since 1987. She and her husband, Michael, have 2 children, Michelle and Michael. The light of Sheila's life are her 2 beautiful grandchildren, Miles and Maeve. Sheila received a Bachelor's of Science degree in Science Education from the University of South Florida in 1983. That same year, she took her first teaching job at Hillsborough High School in Tampa. Sheila also served an integral role by serving on a committee to develop the marine biology curriculum for Hillsborough County. It was through this that her passion for helping to develop curriculum for teachers was born. After moving to Okaloosa County, Sheila took a teaching job in the science department at Choctawhatchee High School. Because of Sheila's expertise and extensive knowledge in science curriculum, she was asked to teach the Advanced Placement and International Baccalaureate Chemistry courses while also serving as the science department chair. No longer just an Okaloosa County expert on science curriculum, Sheila served on the Florida Department of Education Standards and Rubric Setting Committee for Science FCAT. It was during this time that one of Sheila's proudest moments as an educator came to fruition as she was selected as Florida's Sunshine State Scholar Science Teacher. Sheila received a Master's in Educational Leadership from the University of West Florida in 2000 and was selected as Curriculum Specialist for Okaloosa County Schools in 2001. While at the district office as a Curriculum Specialist, her duties included K-12 Science and Math Specialist, AP and IB Coordinator, AVID District Director, and College Board Liaison. In May of 2006, Sheila returned to Choctaw High School as an Assistant Principal of Instruction, where she developed an extensive staff development program to empower her teachers. In January of 2007, Sheila was selected as the principal of Shalimar Elementary School. In 2012, Sheila was selected as the Florida Reading Association Elementary Principal Reading Leader of the Year. Sheila was selected as the Director of Middle School Curriculum in February 2012, and then as the Secondary Curriculum Director for Okaloosa County in 2014. Sheila's passion for public education and lifelong learning has continually pushed her to do what is best for teachers and students.
All right. Looking for a motion, board members.
I'll move.
Motion by Dr. Kelly.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Ivanchak. Any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. Mr. Chambers.
Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to thank the board for this opportunity. I have had the opportunity to work under such incredible people. Some of my mentors, Guyla Hendricks, Terry Bavino, Dr. Kelly, Dr. White was my master's course teachers. I worked alongside Linda for many years at Choctaw. So I just have so many people that have helped me along the way. So I'm very proud to take this position. Mr. Chambers, such a man of integrity. I'm so proud to be on your team. I said I wasn't going to cry. So just thank you, all of you.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
sure.
On that, she mentioned me, but I've known Ms. Lightbourne since she started in our district in a lot of capacities. She was a terrific science teacher at Choctaw High School, and then we worked in several programs. She got me into a program called AVID, if you remember that I worked with, and then we worked on several things together, and then it was great when she came back as an assistant principal. Then she got me into a program called JFG right before I retired, and that actually was great too. So I know that she is the very best in what she does with curriculum and doing what's best for students. So I'm really excited to see this next step in her very starred career. So That's terrific, Sheila.
Thank you. Thank you, Lynn.
All right, congrats again. All right, Superintendent, one more, and then we'll take another brief recess. This is item 6.5, appointment of the Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, recommended by Superintendent Chambers for approval. Mr. Chambers.
Thank you. So as you know, since February of 2018, the Human Resources Department has been without a permanent and consistent leader on a daily basis. And as we went into this position, I think you know that normally we advertise 5 days. We went to 10 days and even did a nationwide search. And I have to say it's with great excitement, it's with great energy, it's with great passion that I bring before you Dr. Lee Hale, and I'm going to read his bio. So Dr. James Lee Hale is in his 22nd year as a professional educator. He is currently the principal of Choctawhatchee High School. For his undergraduate degree, Dr. Hale attended Sanford University in Birmingham, Alabama, where he earned a Bachelor's of Science in Business Administration. He also holds a master's degree in Global Leadership and Administration from Jones International University and a specialist degree in Curriculum Instruction from the University of West Florida. In December of 2012, he was awarded a doctoral degree from the University of West Florida in the field of Instructional and Performance Technology. A formal national board certified teacher in career and technical education, Dr. Hale began his career by spending 12 years on the instructional faculty at Choctawhatchee High School, teaching a variety of business education courses, twice being recognized in Who's Who among America's teachers. Dr. Hale served for 3 years as the coordinator for Choctaw Academy, a school for at-risk students. And in January of 2007, he joined the leadership team at Choctawhatchee High School, where he served as the assistant principal for curriculum and instruction. In 2010, he was named Florida State Assistant Principal of the Year by Florida Association of School Administrators and National Association of Secondary School Principals. In April of 2012, Dr. Hale was named the principal at Meigs Middle School in Shalimar, Florida. Also in 2012, Dr. Hale was honored to be a participant and Apex former presenter in Florida's inaugural Commissioners Leadership Academy, sponsored by the Council for Educational Change and the Florida Department of Education. In April of 2016, Dr. Hale was named the 6th principal of Choctawhatchee High School. Dr. Hale's schools have every year been awarded an A rating. He is or has been a member of several professional organizations, including the National Association of Secondary School Principals, Florida Association of School Administrators, the Okaloosa County Administrators and Supervisors Association, and the Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development, and the College Board. In addition, he has served on various administrative recommendation committees, the Okaloosa Calendar Committee, the Pupil Progression Plan Committee, and since 2015, the Okaloosa County School District Contract Negotiations Team. He served on the board of directors for the Children in Crisis, a nonprofit charity committed to establishing homes and providing hope for abused, neglected, and abandoned children in our local community. Dr. Hale has been happily married to his beautiful wife Gretchen for over 23 years, and together they are proud parents of Brett, a senior geomatics major, never heard of geomatics, at Troy University, and Eve, a senior international baccalaureate student at Choctaw.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chambers. So I'm looking for a motion, board members.
I'll move. We approve, Chairman.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. Any discussion?
I would just like to say, I know that number 5 on our job description for that position requires certification in HR and or personnel oversight. So I'm looking for the superintendent to send Dr. Hale to any training that he needs so that he can be up to speed and set him off on the best possible footing for success in this position, because you heard me say many times that I believe that for the severity of the situations we're handling, we need to be sure we clothe him in all the training we can give him.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion, board members?
Yes, and I'd like to say on following up on that, I agree with that. That's very important. This is probably one of the most important appointments you've done to date, Superintendent, and this board, because of past situations. And I know that with the training, that will be good. But also, he is joining a department that's very strong, some other members that will help him. And truthfully, that helped me sway my decision on this appointment with that. And so I'd like to just back that, because I think that's very important that we do that and make sure that all those things are handled to the utmost professionalism, and with that training, I'm sure that will happen. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, so any further discussion? All right, hearing or seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0, and that's the best send-off he can get.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right.
So thank you very much, and I do appreciate those comments. I could not agree any more. I'm looking forward to the challenge. I'm looking forward to getting up to speed. I'm blessed to have been able to cross over into this world on many occasions. Prior to taking this job, I'm very excited for the challenge, but I also know that there's a lot of work in front of me, and I'm up to the task. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Chambers for your confidence, for interviewing me and selecting me for this recommendation. I'm honored and will work diligently and tirelessly to ensure that the Okaloosa County School District has the most professional and consistent HR department for the benefit of our most precious asset, which is our students, but also for our most important resource, which is our professionals. Thank you to the members of the board for demonstrating your confidence in my ability to not only bring my energy and attention to best practices to a very important department, but also to bring a measure of consistency, transparency, and professionalism as we seek to renew our claim in every area to be the best in Florida, as it says on the screen and on my lapel pin. You have my commitment to that end. Thank you to the students, parents, and staff of Choctawhatchee High School for your pride and excellence. I will miss being with you every day, but I will be with you in spirit. Go Big Green. And thank you to my family, my wife Gretchen, my son Brett, my daughter Eve, and my parents Jim and Nancy for your support in all my endeavors. Once again, thank you very much, and I look forward to this. It's going to be well done. I promise you that. Thank you.
Mama says.
Congratulations again. All right, I think I can do this from up here, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, so we'll take a 2-minute recess. Section 7 on the agenda, committee and staff reports, and board members, you know that we covered these items extensively on Thursday. And of course, 7.1 is an information, 7.2 is information, and 7.3 was also an information. So now we come to the approval of the consent agenda. That's item 8.1. And so, board members, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move we approve the consent agenda.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
I'll approve it. Excuse me, second it. I'm sorry.
A second by Mrs. Ivanchek.
You threw me off, Dr. White.
I'm sorry. Any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. All right, colleagues, so slide on down there, way on down to Section 9, Superintendent's Human Resources Recommendations. All right, so 9.1 is information only. This would be employees on administrative leave, presented by Ms. Lindsay Maxey, Program Director of Human Resources. 9.2 is also information only. This is Deferred Retirement Option Program participants, presented by Ms. Lindsay Maxey, Program Director, Human Resources. 9.3 is an action item. Out-of-field report for the 2018-2019 school year, presented by Ms. Karen Peak, Program Director, Professional Services, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Dr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. 9.4, Best and Brightest Scholarship Program, Pre-K Teachers, presented by Ms. Lindsay Maxey, Program Director, Human Resources, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Board members, I call your attention to the recommended action. A motion to approve the Superintendent's recommendation that the Best and Brightest Scholarship Program funds not be paid to any classification of pre-K teachers. Looking for a motion.
Dr. White, do you mind if I say one thing?
Please, go ahead.
And I do want to say, just reiterating, for those who are here, reiterating for the public as well. So it's come to our attention that there was an audit finding in a county in our state where the pre-K teachers were made to pay that money back. So with that being the case, at least for this motion, the last thing I want to do is put our teachers in a spot where they would have to pay that money back. I'd also like to reiterate, I think it's, I wish the Best and the Brightest program would be revised to the point where that money would go to teachers in general, pre-K teachers, the adult ed teachers, our guidance counselors, our staffing specialists, our speech therapists, all the classifications of teachers who meet this, this criteria. So it's saddeningly, I have this motion, wish I didn't have to make this motion. I wish it went for everybody.
I understand, Mr. Chambers, and you know we talked about this at length some on Thursday, and we talked about that this was not a school district program, that this is a state of Florida legislature program, and they write the rules, and when they write the rules that stipulate how we have to execute it, they wrote the rules such that if we were to provide for this, then at least we know already in one county an auditor has ruled it, well, I'll use the word illegal. So that's kind of where we are. And Superintendent, I know this is not something that you would want to bring forward, but we're kind of, I think you're kind of stuck in my opinion. All right, so I'm looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Bryant.
I'll second.
Second by Dr. Kelly. Any discussion?
I have just a moment's
Yes, sir.
discussion.
Yes, sir.
Mr. McGinnis, at the moment we're waiting, we hope for some clarification from the Attorney General, not specifically on this point, but
Correct.
about our role in awarding this. If we were to table this decision rather than to vote affirmatively not to award it, would that work just as well, and we won't make a decision until we've heard from the Attorney General?
The only issue is that there's a time frame in which the money is to be paid out, and the district's going to need direction from the board because of the fact that those names, in an abundance of caution, were sent in. There has to be direction back to the superintendent in regard to how to handle that money. And the opinion, if and when it arrives from the Attorney General, as you've said, will not give us direction on a specific category of teacher. Therefore, the findings by the State Auditor General and the other school district, I think, are informative to this board and this district to determine, that even if you have authority to make some of those decisions under that program, if the Auditor General has determined that that classification doesn't fit, I'm not sure that opinion's going to change that.
No, but it certainly would put it in question, and it would be right for a court to determine it, would it not?
Well, they'd have to challenge, I guess, the Auditor General over what they've determined.
Right. So a motion to table essentially doesn't give the superintendent the authority to go forward.
It doesn't.
I don't know, I just feel a little more comfortable with that than just telling him not to pay it. And I'll make a motion to table.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor. We have a motion and a second already.
Right.
So yeah. So
We're still in discussion.
Right. We're in discussion. So can we supersede the motion on the floor with a motion to table? Is the question.
He's moved to table, so you need to take that up. Either that motion gets a second or it doesn't, and then you can move back to discussion.
I understand. All right. So then the motion to table supersedes the discussion, and so now I'm looking for a second to Mr. Destin's motion to table.
Let me be clear, we're tabling voting on pre-K teachers not getting the money. Is that correct?
That's his motion, yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a question about that, though. Isn't it broader than that in terms of the superintendent being directed to submit his materials? Would it just be that we don't submit the pre-K if we table it?
Well,
or we do?
They've been submitted, and the funding is coming for that. The issue is, do we disperse that funding or do we return the funding? That's what you would be doing tonight.
And so based upon the motion to table,
what happens? You'd be taking no action, so the superintendent would have no direction in that regard. And potentially, I guess without board action, there could be someone to take a position that if the money shows up, he should pay it out, and that's what he's trying to explain, that based upon that audit finding, he does not think that's legally prudent to do.
So that sounds like a roundabout way of saying that a motion to table means that we're not going to award it. Is that right?
No, a motion to table means the superintendent has no direction from you as what to do, and those names have already been submitted and funding is coming.
And so then he can choose to submit it or to pay or not pay. Is that right?
Well, he could, but I think he has appropriately brought that decision to the school board because ultimately you have to award that compensation.
Yes, I'm just trying to say that such a motion really could have the same effect as the original motion.
It would have the same effect, but I'll save you all the mental gymnastics. I'll withdraw the motion.
Okay, anybody else choose to make the motion?
Make motion then.
To table? No. Okay, so, all right then.
I just have a comment.
Sure, all right, so let's go back to discussion on the original motion then. All right, Mr. Bryan.
And I want to speak for the general public out there as constitutional law officers. These are the issues that we're dealing with in trying to get an interpretation of the law. So it really puts us in a bind trying to figure out which direction to go. So I think this is why in Tallahassee they need to be a little bit more clear when they make these laws out instead of putting us in a catch-22 where we have to do this here tonight. So.
Mr. Bryant, you're being very diplomatic. This is just ridiculous that a legislation would send this down to us without any direction. And once again, teachers are taking the route. So public, you need to know that and let your legislators know that when they, it sounds great, the program, but it's ridiculous. So we can't give a whole section of teachers what they have earned because of not getting a directive. And then when we ask for a directive, we don't get a response. Yeah, and so it's frustrating and to have that. So I hope the public can see that because these teachers certainly deserve to get this, and we all agree on that. But once again, it's a bunch of bureaucracy that is holding us back. And so I understand that moving forward, we can only hope that the governor and the legislature, as they revamp this program, which I understand they're doing, will make it clear who they want to get this money and give us some direction so we don't have to sit here and go back and forth on this as we move forward. So if you're out there, let your legislators know that this needs to be clear so that it can go to these teachers that deserve these rewards. Thank you.
And to be diplomatic, but to also say, and I said this Thursday, I think we should reinvest in our teachers and put it in salary hikes or salary raises instead of a bonus, to say. So,
which is essentially what this is. Yeah.
Well, and I was clear in the past, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
That's just where we are. All right, so any further discussion? Not hearing or seeing any. All in favor of the motion, please raise your hand. All opposed? Motion carries 4-1. All right, moving on to item 9.5. Personnel recommendations presented by Ms. Lindsay Maxey, Program Director, Human Resources, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Looking for a motion.
Move we approve.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Ms. Vancheck. Any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. 9.6, employment separations, presented by Ms. Lindsay Maxey, Program Director, Human Resources, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Looking for a motion.
I'll move.
Motion by Dr. Kelly.
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Vancheck. Any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. 9.7, employee transfers, presented by Ms. Lindsay Maxey, Program Director, Human Resources, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryan. Any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. 9.8, employee suspension, presented by Ms. Lindsay Maxey, Program Director, Human Resources, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Need a motion.
Move we approve.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryan. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. 9.9, reinstatement reimbursement of sick leave due to line of duty illness, injury, medical examination, presented by Ms. Lindsay Maxey, Program Director, Human Resources, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. Any discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. 9.10, last one. Leave without pay, presented by Ms. Lindsay Maxey, Program Director, Human Resources, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Need a motion.
So moved.
I'll defer. I think Dr. Kelly got you. So Dr. Kelly made the motion. Looking for a second.
I'll second it.
All right, second by Ms. Vancheck. Any discussion? Not seeing any, so let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. All right, so that carries us through Human Resources. Section 10, there was no discussion items. And then Section 11, Program Owners Representatives Business. And Mr. Destin, sir, do you have anything for us?
Thank you, Chairman. I will briefly go over our discussions this morning. We have been working on Edge Elementary, Crestview High School Auditorium, and STEM roof replacement.
Okay.
We have a Florosa Elementary parking parent pickup relocation that we have discussed on numerous occasions.
Right.
We've got the Choice CTE grant application that we discussed about the grant funds and how we would help facilitate that. And then we looked at Richburg School, a 3-classroom renovation and roof project, and that one is under discussion at the moment, and we're going to get a GMP on that. We also discussed security upgrades. So that was the projects we had this morning.
You had quite a meeting, it sounds like.
We actually went to 2 pages, which you don't usually do.
Thank you for the brevity. All right, well, we appreciate you serving on that committee, Mr. Destin, because I know there's a lot to it and a lot of work.
Thank you.
But thank you.
I do have a
Yes,
question.
sir. Mr. Bryan.
So you did mention Richburg School, the roofing, is that the area that we were discussing?
You know, I'm not sure, Mr. Bryant. There was a roof project that's part of this, and the 3 classroom. Dr. Smith is here. He may be able to clarify it for us.
Now, just so people know, we have a room over at Richburg that we can't use because of some real big issues with roofing and stuff.
I think what Mr. Destin's referring to is the 3 classroom that we finished up this summer, which included a roof. But we will go back at a later date and look at that area that you're talking about, and we still have that on our agenda.
Okay,
It is. We're still looking at that one. It's going to be a rather large amount of money, I'm afraid.
Probably. All right, thank you, Dr. Smith, and thank you, Mr. Destin and Mr. Bryant. Thank you. Anything else, board members, on that item? All right, so then we go on to Section 12, Information Technology Seat Management. All right, we've got some
Mr.
action
Chairman, you have an
items
11.2 that we need to
I'm sorry,
deal
very
with.
good, thank you. Yep, that's right. 11.2, TPM Program Number 6, Task Order Number 3, Florosa Elementary School Parent Pickup Relocation Traffic Flow Reconfiguration, presented by Dr. Bill Smith, Specialist Facilities Planning and Maintenance, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. And board members, you'll recall that we spoke about this at length on Thursday. So this is an action item, so I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move we approve.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second it.
Second by Ms. Vancheck. Any discussion?
I think this is great. Ms. Massey's out there. I know she's happy to see us taking some action, and so this is great. We're going to get that straight out there. Florosa.
Thank you, Ms. Vancheck. All right, so any further discussion? Not seeing any, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. And thank you, Mr. McInnes. All right, moving on to Section 12, 12.1, CACI Task Order Number 2-126, Revision 2 for CCTV additions repairs at Destin Elementary School, presented by Mr. Dustin Keith, Specialist Seat Management, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Looking for a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. Any discussion? Not seeing any, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. 12.2, CACI Task Order Number 2-127, Revision 1 for the installation of the OCSD E-Rate Network equipment, presented by Mr. Dustin Keith, Specialist Seat Management, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. Any discussion? Not seeing any, so let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. 12.3, CACI Task Order Number 2-128 to provide a National Institute of Standards and Technology NIST-based assessment of the existing Okaloosa County School District's information system, presented by Mr. Steve Horton, Assistant Superintendent of MIS, and recommended by the Superintendent for approval. Need a motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Destin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Bryant. Any discussion? Hearing or seeing none, let's vote. All in favor? Motion carries 5-0. All right, so now, Mr. Attorney, that brings you to your business, sir.
No report tonight.
All right, thank you. Superintendent, you've got some out-of-state field trips, and there may be some other items that you have.
Yes, sir. I would like it to be very brief, but I would like Ms. Dale to come forward really quickly. And as she comes up, Ms. Dale does so much behind the scenes that people don't necessarily know that she does that makes this school system great. And I just want you just to very briefly share what you sent me today in terms of the First Baptist Church in Niceville and the great work that they're doing with our kids, and you helping organize that.
Okay, thank you. Back in the fall, First Baptist Church Niceville contacted us after Hurricane Michael, asking what they could do because they overheard at Salvation Army that we had students coming into Okaloosa County schools who needed shoes. They very generously donated $6,000 in Payless gift cards. Well, then Payless announced they were going out of business, so we needed to quickly spend the money. We reached out to all of our schools, and our Title IX students were offered 3 afternoons or evenings an opportunity to go shopping and purchase a pair of shoes. And so many of these students don't have that opportunity. And so as I shared with Mr. Chambers, just the smiles alone said enough, and the parents were very grateful as well. So we were able to provide over 300 shoes to Okaloosa County students, primarily our Title IX students and foster students. Awesome. And since you invited me up here,
All right, be careful.
He didn't get this email yet. On Saturday also, oh, you did? Okay, good. On Saturday at Shalimar Elementary, we had another event for Title I students in Okaloosa County. Early January, a donor in the county said, "We've got 30 bicycles for you." And I said, well, if we wait till it gets a little warmer, I'd like to offer a bicycle safety class for students. So our Title I schools, we reached out, they gave us a name of a student, and with the help of other community businesses, CrossFit Power Dome and University of West Florida, every child also received a helmet.
Oh, wow.
So we had students from around the county in our Title I schools and their families take a bicycle safety course and received a helmet as well.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Dale.
That's
And
great.
thank you, First Baptist and the donor
Yes,
for the
yes,
bicycle.
very much.
Awesome, very good.
Great.
Thank you.
Yay. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
And just one other quick note. So I think we all know Mr. Folsom over at Fort Walton Beach High School, one of our fantastic band directors. And Fort Walton Beach, they celebrated their 50th year of superior ratings at the FBA District 1 Concert Music Performance Assessment, and it was hosted at Fort Walton Beach High School. And I mentioned this, so Fort Walton Beach, 50 straight years, absolutely fantastic. And then you think about the band programs just in Okaloosa County, Crestview, Niceville, Choctaw, Baker, across the board where we have our band programs, let alone in the middle school and even in the elementary where we're doing some things. We have, I believe, the #1 band program in the state of Florida, and this is just one example of the great things that are occurring in our school district. And I did have one other announcement that I would like to make, but I believe Mr. Bryant might be making that announcement. So
I might go first tonight.
So I will wait.
All right, Superintendent. Okay, so let's go ahead now and go to board members' business. This will be section 15 on our agenda, and so Ms. Vancheck, how about I start with you this evening, ma'am?
Good, I can bring Mr. Bryant back just a minute. No, thank you, sir. First of all, I know a lot of students and employees are going to be happy when this Friday comes because it will be spring break. But I just want to caution those students, of course, to make good decisions over spring break. It's a time to be free, but you can't forget those safety things and making good decisions when you're out there. And remember, a lot of people come here for spring break. They'll be out the week that we are, and we don't want to have any of our students hurt or get into any problems while they're out on spring break. Also, before we go to spring break, and I'm again glad Miss Massey's here, that we're going to have STEAM night this Wednesday night out at Florosa Elementary. That's science and technology, engineering, art, and math from 4:30 to 6:30. So people come on out and see what's going on out at Florosa. Florosa's out there headed to the west side of our district. And so we want people to take a little drive and visit us out there. And I mentioned it at the workshop, but again, I want to shout out to the Emerald Coast Science Center, celebrating 30 years of starting with STEM before it was even cool, and bringing that going. So congratulations to them. So happy spring break, everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Vancheck. Dr. Kelly.
Well, to tag on to Amy Dale's comments, First Baptist Church of Niceville happens to be my church, my home church. And so today I went out there for a little while to the choral MPAs, that music performance assessment, and heard some of the most phenomenal young people singing. It goes on tomorrow as well, so if you'd love to hear some angels on earth, drop by First Baptist Church in Niceville. I believe they start at 8:45 tomorrow, and they go to about 7:30 p.m. tomorrow evening. So go by and hear some of those voices that we're so proud of in Okaloosa County. And it just dawned on me that, while we're talking about all of our extracurriculars here, my daughter was part of the Big Red Marching Machine for many years, and when Mr. Chambers was talking about his daughter twirling for a nanosecond, I'm reminded of one quick scenario when my daughter tried out and made the Winter Guard team. Her first event happened on her 12th birthday. She asked for a dog. I'll make this short, I promise. She was out in the yard practicing with her rifle. The first toss cold-cocked the dog she had asked for on her birthday. Cold-cocked the dog. We thought the dog was dead. Anyway, so I thought you were going to say that you got hit with a majorette baton, and that's why she didn't continue. But anyway, so moving right along after I leave you with that story, and please don't let my daughter watch this clip of this meeting. But anyway, I am thinking of all of our students and their extracurriculars, but it strikes me that we have students who are so well-rounded, and I bet you every one of those students that we honored tonight, the hip-hop, the majorettes, and everyone else, I bet you they're also strong academically. And that just speaks wonders, not just to our coaches, but to the parents and the teachers who keep them on point. So that's very important to me that we have such students that participate in everything. I'm also thinking of our teachers and our students as this week we mark the end of the third grading period, and I know how important that is to our students and our families and our teachers as they prepare to wind down to the end of the year events. And we're also in the March Madness season, and one of my heroes is Coach John Wooden, and that brought to mind at our Thursday meeting we had Brian Humphrey, who just had a small hiccup on one of his first jobs, and really in the scheme of things it was a small hiccup, but important enough that he apologized off the spot, put motions in place to make things better, and that reminded me of a John Wooden quote who said, "You can make mistakes, but you're not a failure until you start blaming others." So I love that, and I love that. I believe we were reached out to not only by Mr. Humphrey, but by Cherry as well in that department. So I appreciate them for doing that, for taking ownership and making things better. And one last thing, we also need to remember that on March the 25th is Medal of Honor Day. And we have a lot of those Medal of Honor recipients in our district and our communities, and I think it's important that we stop to remember the things that those people have done for our district and for our own well-being in society.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Kelly. And Mr. Destin, I'm thinking before we call on Mr. Bryant on that 40 T-shirt that he's wearing, if there's anything you have tonight, sir.
Well, let's see. No, I won't talk about that. I do want to wish luck to the Fort Walton Beach theater students who will be competing in Orlando over spring break. And I think that just about covers it.
All right, Mr. Bryant, we're ready. Your turn, sir.
Well, as y'all know, Crestview High School was playing in the championship game on Saturday. But before we get to that, I do want to say one thing about our school district. Some of y'all might have noticed I tweeted out there the other day that Fort Walton Beach, their baseball team, their players had sent a nice comment to the boys at Crestview High School, and it just reminded me that we are one school district, one community, and we are Okaloosa County. And to see the outpouring of support, not only from just the Crestview community, but the entire community, was just unbelievable. And I know last year when Choctaw was making their march to in the Final Four, the final game, I know I was a Choctaw Indian at heart on that day. So it is really appreciative that all the schools really came together to support Crestview High School. So with that being said, it is my honor to wear this shirt that they brought me back from Lakeland to congratulate the Crestview boys basketball team on winning the 7A basketball championship. And I will tell you, if you believe in the Bible and you read the Bible, the David and Goliath story, this was a David and Goliath story. And Crestview came to play, and they played with such class, and they played hard, and they deserved that championship. So I'd like to say to Dexter Day, the principal, Coach Greg Watson, and the entire Bulldog Nation, Paul, I hope you get a good picture of this, but congratulations.
You made on TV, on the video. Okay. All right. Very good, Mr. Bryant. We're all just so happy and proud for Crestview High School. It's really an achievement to be a state champion in Florida. I mean, that's an awesome achievement. Well, all right, so let's go ahead and finish up here with public comment, section 16. Is there anyone else here tonight that would wish to speak to the school board? Seeing none, Mr. Attorney, I think we're good here.
Yes, sir.
Superintendent, staff, we're all okay? Okay. Board members? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Good.
Another one in the books.
Yeah.